Starting off this video, the most important thing we need to understand is the common denominator, right? So when we look here, we have to make sure everything is factored. And once everything is factored, then we could determine what is the common denominator. And that common denominator is going to be x plus 3 times x minus 3. So now when we look at each fraction, we have to make sure that it has both of those parts in the denominator, and if it doesn't, we add it. So in the first problem or fraction, we're going to add x plus 3, right? Because we have to multiply the bottom by x plus 3 to have the same denominator. And whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. Now we're going to combine that with x times x minus 3, because that's what's missing from the second fraction's denominator, right? And luckily for us, nothing needs to be done to this last fraction because it's complete, meaning it has the common denominator. Now, after we do that, guys, honestly, we can drop the denominator and focus on the numerator. And once we do, this is what we're going to get. So I distribute and I have x squared plus 3x plus x squared minus 3x is equal to 2. And when we combine our like terms, positive 3x, negative 3x are gone. I'm left with 2x squared is equal to 2. And now we're going to use the square root method. And when we use the square root method, right, first we need to make sure that the x or the variable is by itself. And it's typically going to have an exponent of 2. So now we have x squared is equal to 1. And first to get x by itself, we're going to take its square root. And what we do on one side, we do to the other. So now x is equal to positive or negative 1. We could also express this as a solution set. X is equal to, when we have our braces, negative 1, positive 1. Now, the most important thing when we talk about irrational expressions is understanding extraneous solutions. So this problem, right, the extraneous solution or the number that would make the answer not be a solution is if x was equal to 3 or if x was equal to negative 3, right? Because any of those would have a 0 in the denominator and that would be undefined, right? We can't have 0 in the bottom of a fraction. But problem number 2 is going to be a little bit different because we're not going to use the square root method to solve at the end. In problem number 2, first thing we want to do is just to make sure we factor, right? Any trinomials that we can, but a rule of thumb, typically the other factors will give you a hint of what these factors may be. And once we break this down, we're going to have x minus 1 over x plus 2 times x plus 1. So we know our common denominator is x plus 2 times x plus 1. So this first fraction stays the same. The second fraction, right, is missing what? X plus 1. So whatever I add to the bottom, I have to add to the top, right? And this is equal to, and when we look at the last fraction, all it's missing is the x plus 2. So that's what we're going to multiply x minus 1 in the top by. So at this step, we have a common denominator, and I always tell students, drop the denominator and then solve the equation, right? We don't need it anymore. So at this step, right, we're going to now clean up the numerator. So x minus 1 stays the same. We add 2x squared plus 2x to it after distributing. And then once we FOIL here, we're going to have x squared plus 2x minus x minus 2. Right? And before we start moving things from one side to the other, let's just clean up each side. So 2x squared stays the same. And this is going to be plus 3x. All right, let's cancel that out. Cancel that, cancel that. Minus 1 is equal to x squared plus x minus 2. All right? So at this step, guys, I'm gonna combine, right? So we have minus x squared minus x plus 2. And I just did it like this, guys, so that we could just have this step, have all of this in one step. So now we have x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to what? If we move this to the other side, this is now equal to 0. So this is the trinomial we now want to factor to get our final answer. So now let's say, right, let's just go back a little bit and let's just get some more space. Erase right here, right? So now let's say we go back and we're trying to factor. It's the same thing. So we have x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Once we simplify, we have x plus 1 times x plus 1 is equal to 0. We could always write this as x plus 1 squared. But the funny thing is, once we solve and set this equal to 0, we're going to get x is equal to negative 1. However, is this an actual solution to this rational expression? Well, when we look up here, right, we know that x cannot be equal to negative 2, and we know x cannot be equal to negative 1 because we're going to have a 0 in our denominator. So even though we were able to factor and get an answer here, the actual answer for this would be no solution because the answer that we got was an extraneous solution. It will not satisfy the equation. So we hope this review on these true problems and solving algebraic equations was helpful for you guys. If it was, smash the like button for us. Comment down below, let us know you enjoyed this video. And if you have any future questions or questions on this video, comment down below as well and let us know. We'll try to get back to you guys. Thank you so much for watching us today on Algebra 1 with Mr. Peters.